Our topic for today's notes is another compromise from the pre-Civil War period, this time the Compromise of 1850. The first compromise we discussed was the Missouri Compromise, which happened in 1820. And if you remember, that compromise was supposed to settle the question of whether or not new territories would be open to slavery. Well, by 1850, the U.S. had grown even more, and we had taken over new territories that weren't covered by the Missouri Compromise. So when those territories are added, the same question pops up. Will those new territories be open to slavery, or will they be closed to slavery? In our last set of notes, we looked at what the political power looked like in 1819. Here's what it looked like in 1848. You'll notice that the North has the same number of Senate seats as the South, so that's the same. They each have more because there's more states, but they both have equal numbers. So the North has 30, the South has 30. But the North has more seats in the House, and therefore more electoral college votes. So that means the North had the most political power. But it also meant that the balance in the Senate, both sides having the same number of senators, protected the South from anti-slavery laws. Because even though the North had more political power, they couldn't pass anti-slavery laws because the South could block them in the Senate. Between the Missouri Compromise and the Compromise of 1850, the U.S., as I mentioned before, acquired more land. We had a war with Mexico, and when we won that war, we got a bunch more land in the Southwest. This land was not covered by the Missouri Compromise, so that raised some questions, right? We had to decide whether slavery would be allowed or not in this new land. Adding to the issue is the fact that by 1850, California had enough people to become a new state. A lot of that had to do with the 1849 gold rush. Lots and lots of people moved out to California. All of a sudden, California wants to join the United States. Abolitionists were growing in numbers in the North. They'd become a very strong group, a very strong voice, and they were completely against allowing slavery into any new territories. They also wanted the slaves that escaped to the North to be safe. They did not want to have to return those slaves or to be punished in any way for helping those slaves escape to freedom. So all of these things come together into a big conflict. We've got California asking to join the United States. Well, that would upset the balance in the Senate. You've got the issue of fugitive slaves, right? What will the U.S. do about fugitive slaves? You have the issue about slavery in the new territories that the United States gained. All of these things come together in a major crisis in 1850. Both sides, North and South, are arguing with each other, fighting with each other, and it looks like this could be what starts a civil war. But once again, the political leaders of the country work out a compromise. So just like the Missouri Compromise addressed the issue in 1820, the Compromise of 1850 calms everything down in 1850. Here are the key parts of the Compromise of 1850. California gets admitted to the Union as a non-slave state, right? So it's a free state. That's good for the North. That gave the North control of the Senate. So now the North had the House and the Senate. In return, the South got popular sovereignty. What that means is that the new territories that were added to the United States were going to be allowed to vote for themselves whether or not to allow slavery. And the South liked that. That gave them a chance to expand slavery into those new territories. Another thing that the South really liked was a strong fugitive slave law. And this new fugitive slave law actually forced Northerners to return runaway slaves, or they could face punishment. In return, the North gets something else. The North liked the last bullet point. Buying and selling slaves in Washington, D.C. was made illegal. So in the Compromise of 1850, both sides, North and South, get two things that they like. And nobody thinks it's perfect, but what it does do is gives each side something that they wanted and calmed everything down for the time being. Finish up your notes. Go back and rewatch and pause if you need to make sure you get everything down, and print your notes before the start of class.